Hello and welcome back to CEO.CA. My name is James Fatham, and today I'm excited to be joined by Brad Kitchen, President and Director of ESGold. Brad, thanks so much for joining us today.
James, thanks for taking the time to talk.
So Brad, for viewers who may be unfamiliar with ESGold, can we kick things off today with a quick 30-second elevator pitch? What are the key facts people need to know about the company?
Sure, James. ESGold is different than any other junior resource company on the market. We're actually going to go in production in the next 6 to 9 months. And after that, we're then going to do exploration. Most companies do a ton of exploration, then have to get their permits, then go into production. We're not. We're going to be cash flow positive by this time next year. So that's our main point of differentiation. We've just completed a preliminary economic assessment. We did that last year. We've updated it for current market rates. And right now, our initial tailings reclamation project has an IRR of about 142%.
Fantastic, Brad. Thank you so much for that overview, and really interesting to see you pursuing this production-backed exploration approach rather than the other way around that most junior miners follow. I do want to start by talking a little bit more about the PEA that you just put out at Montauban. Walk us through what are the key highlights there? What does this mean for the next steps of the company?
Sure, thanks, James. So the key with us is we are fully permitted. The infrastructure is in place. There's a 16,000 square foot mill building. We have 60% of the equipment in place. We simply need to purchase the rest of the equipment and then install that. And that will take about 6 to 9 months. Once we do that, as I mentioned, we're fully permitted. We'll be able to process tailings, which are actually toxic. So this is a very big ESG play as well. So we'll be taking these tailings, we'll be processing them, taking out mica, which we can turn around and sell. It's another revenue source. Regrinding, and then extracting the gold and silver via Merrill-Crowe process. So a very straightforward way to get to revenue. The revenue for the project will extend it over about a 4-year period. Just on the tailings alone, it'll be 121 million Canadian, and that's in current market conditions. Gold and silver have been very, very strong, as is mica. And after that, we believe that we'll have another 12 to 15 years of mine life at surface or near surface gold and silver extraction.
Great. Thank you so much for that overview. I guess when it comes to the significance and the size of this tailings project, can you give us a bit of the backstory of the Montauban project? How did it come to be that a project like this was sat there and you're able to develop it like you are now?
Actually, James, that's really cool. Montauban itself has been a mine, or was a mine, from 1910 to about 1989. And there were really 3 stages of development. Early in 1910, and then the 1940s and 50s, and then 1980s for gold and silver. What they did at the time is they simply milled the ore from the ground and left the tailings on the surface. So there's over 900,000 tons of tailings sitting on the surface of Montauban. These are slightly toxic. Nothing can grow on them. So when we process this, as I mentioned, we're going to have 3 revenue streams: mica, gold, and silver. And then by the end of the process, the tailings will no longer be toxic. So we can use that for either construction materials or put it back and return the land to its natural state. So that's really the scoop on Montauban itself. It's been around for a while. It's old technology. We're going to bring in new technology to help extract the gold and silver, but nothing that's unproven.
Great, and it's I guess going back to that production-backed exploration. I guess we have a sense of how this asset is going to produce, but in terms of the exploration upside, what's the vision here in terms of further exploring? Are you going to be focused on targets in and around Montauban, or are you going to be looking at acquiring assets elsewhere?
No, that's really cool, James. Thanks for bringing that up. So a couple of things. First off, I've just joined the company about 3 months ago. My focus is to get Montauban into production. So it's key for us to get that revenue starting, getting that cash flow going. Once we start the construction, which is going to be beginning by the end of this month, so that's important to note. And once we start to get into cash flow, there's an extensive exploration plan for Montauban. As mentioned before, it's been a mine since 1910. It's been, I think, over 300,000 ounces of gold have been extracted. It's a significant mine, but there's never been a model. There's never been a systematic analysis of what the resource is at Montauban. And we have over 13,000 hectares. It's the biggest land package in the area. And we have developed an extremely strong exploration program, something that we'll be announcing over the next couple of weeks.
Great. Well, I look forward to seeing that announcement over the coming weeks. I guess going back to something you touched on previously, but in terms of the path ahead here, when you're looking to go into construction and ultimately production in the kind of relatively short term over the next 6 to 9 months, as you said, what are the key costs here in terms of bringing the project online? And I guess what's the path to financing those costs?
Okay, so the company's done a few small financings right now, really to get its corporate back office in order. As mentioned, we've got the mill in place, we've got the permits, we've got the Quebec Hydro, we've got 60% of the equipment. What we really need to do is just acquire the rest of the equipment and then install. Basically, it's a construction type project. The cost of the equipment's roughly $2 million. The cost of installation is 1.8 to 2.2 million. So what we're doing now is actively seeking non-dilutive sources of financing. So we're working with 3 or 4 investment groups that are interested in taking down an NSR financing, doing some sort of gold loan financing, something that won't dilute our shareholders. So James, when I came in 3 months ago, the toughest job I had was trying to get value for our shareholders. Our market cap was $3 million. Today, after a bit of a marketing push and also just doing things like this and getting the message out, market cap is now at 12 million, but it's still short of where we should be. Our recent revaluation of the PEA shows that we've got over $100 million of revenue that's just sitting on the ground. So I have to do the job of translating that into a more palatable market cap for our company. So that's why we don't want to dilute too much. We don't want to issue too many shares. We're in a very strong position. And with that revenue coming in, we really believe that we'll be able to get that non-dilutive financing quite quickly.
Great. And I guess, Brad, just to wrap up today, I guess 2 points I would like to end on. For yourself joining the company very recently, what was it about ESGold that made you want to come and lead the company during this critical phase? And I guess for an investor, why should they also be paying attention right now?
Okay, I think we're a very unique company in that we will be into revenue within the year. Everything's in place to go into production, and it's just a case of ramping up our operations. That's what appealed to me. It was actually building a company, coming into a part of Quebec, which needs some new industry. We're not creating a ton of jobs. We're 25 to 35 jobs, but that will inject quite a bit of money in the area. It's something that we can do in short order. In addition, we can use a bit of my background, which is in exploration or putting together the exploration teams, to develop the resource at Montauban. And we truly believe that once we process the tailings, which are just sitting on the ground, we'll have another 12 to 15 years of mine life. So there's immediate satisfaction, if you wish, for shareholders. There will be less dilution as we go forward because we won't have to raise money to do the exploration. That will be self-funded from the sale of the gold and silver. And there's potential for a huge blue sky discovery at Montauban.
Fantastic. Well, Brad, really interesting to hear about ESGold today and looking forward to more updates over the coming months. Thanks so much for joining us today.
James, thanks very much for the time, and I appreciate your interest in the company. Take care.